and what's its purpose? That's a tough one to answer.
Yeah.
When you have absolutely nothing else to do,
Be happy.
check that out. He's very good. He's very good. He was the, you'll be interested in this, Doug. He was the president of the American Enterprise Institute, which is a Republican-leaning
Yeah, I've been there
organization,
many times. I used to be
Which is
right
one-
across the street from him.
which is one of the solid organizations, equal to the Brookings Institution. And I thought, okay, what are the characteristics that make up that happiness? And you know what his answer was? Friends and family.
Yeah.
That without the friends and family, you cannot achieve either one of those objectives. And you guys have made my life so wonderfully complete. And so I hope you stick around and help me through this little next episode. I have a chapter to write for this little book that Becky has encouraged me to. And it's on, and I think I was mentioning that to you, that here you are at this stage of your life, and what are you going to do with it? You've gone through all the other phases, you know, from the beginning up through your job and family and everything else. So you reach your 90th birthday. Now what am I going to say about my life and what I want to do? And I found, going back and looking at it and listening to Arnold, was very meaningful. It just, I don't know who introduced me to YouTube. It may have been Bob. But we have discovered everything from the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Another one of those medical things. So thank you for coming. Very special day. And thank you, my family, my jewel next to you of 67 years, and Dan and Becky, and there he is. There's Matthew. Where's Molly?
She's at home sick.
Homesick?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay.
Yeah. And Michael, he's quiet but observant, and
Yeah.
Michael and I.
No one talks to me, so.
Michael and I would spend up until the last couple of days, each evening, talking a little bit about the job and life and everything. And so we've gotten to know each other pretty well. And this guy here, he and I talk to each other every day. And those kinds of simple, easy to do things can slip away if you're not careful. This guy here was my personal caregiver up in Florida. I told him he was in the wrong lane of work. He is so good, so caring,
What's his name?
that he's just,
Dan.
it's too
Dan.
bad
I
he's
only
not
do
look-
that for you, Dad.
What?
I don't think it would be quite as enjoyable for doing it for other people.
Yeah.
Linda and I met up with each other back at the community college in Howard. And it was nice enough to come along and work with us for a while. And met up with this guy here,
Yeah.
and they bonded.
I gotta quickly tell you the story. I knew there was this attractive woman across the hall, and I walked in, and she had not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 Marine Corps medallions from marathons. I said, anybody who can do that, I've got to know. That's a true story.
What year was
And
that?
a special
1990.
a special gift who traveled all the way from Omaha, Nebraska.
Who's that?
My brother's lovely daughter, Beth. And so
Oh.
Hi,
thank you
Beth.
very much for coming.
Good to see you, Beth.
It's very nice to meet you.
And there are 2 people back there, Becky and her partner, Mike.
Mike, wave a hand.
Without their help,
Okay, that's Mike.
over the last several months, we
Several
wouldn't,
months?
we wouldn't be here. It's just,
That's a year.
well, we debated, should we just stay at Riderwood, or should we move?
Is
And,
that where you do them, Ken?
and the
Right.
compelling reason
I worked with this.
was not that we were unhappy about Riderwood, it's that it was closer to Leesburg. And very important that it'd be 20 minutes away rather than an hour and a half away. And what we found is so many families here are not reliant just on the son, but especially the daughter. I don't know what there is, but they end up being the navigator. But she and Mike, very special. Dana, with Dan's help, was one of the personal caregivers down there in Florida. She's wonderful. Gotten to know Dana, love her, and hope she stays with us forever.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And these two people here,
Cindy and Bob.
yeah,
Who's Cindy and Bob here?
The outliers.
Cindy and Bob.
We're out.
we've known each other in a lot of different ways. So a mutual friend who passed some 10 years ago now, more than 10 years ago, Paul Logan.
Yeah.
And have traveled with us, traveled down to Virgin Gorda to enjoy Spring Bay, and Bob learning to snorkel,
You taught us both how to snorkel.
almost drowned a couple of times.
That's right.
Yeah.
You
But
can't swim as hard.
again, good friends, we're very special.
Yeah.
Um,
We were with Ron and Priscilla in Virgin Gorda when they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. I mean, and it was absolutely beautiful, and I'll never forget because Ron gave Priscilla a beautiful round circle of diamonds. a necklace,
Oh.
and a necklace. And so I said to Bob, isn't that just so beautiful?
Thank you for that.
Beautiful.
You set the bar too high.
And last but not least,
And I got one.
Doug Lloyd, who also came to rescue the ship.
Yeah.
Back in the 1980s,
Yeah.
something like that. Doug had been the health commissioner in Connecticut during some very controversial HIV/AIDS time. And he and I put together what we thought was a very successful primary care workforce conference in Burlington, Vermont,
Yeah.
when Howard Dean,
Oh, I remember Howard Dean, the governor and the doctor.
Bernie Sanders,
Bernie. Oh, yeah.
was mayor, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you all for coming. We
Ron, why don't you talk a little bit about the house you had down there in Virgin Gorda and why you bought it and what you did there?
Well, we never really did buy a house,
Yeah.
fortunately. We had a long-term lease, which Priscilla masterly rented most of the time. We had it about 20 years, I guess.
You
Several-
weren't able to because he needed to be a belonger,
What?
right? From the story I remember, you had to be. because
Yeah,
they
Mom
lived
and I
on
went
the
down
island.
there to try to buy something, and if anybody who's a belonger wants to pay that price, they get it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They took it.
We rented it. Doug and I went down with
You
my,
did, that's right,
with my
that's right.
cousin and her husband.
We had, we got to know a lot of people down there, and the Cabells, Jolene Cabell, interesting person, helped. She was persuading us that in our retirement years, we should live on Virgin Gorda because of all these caring personal care workers. And we said, we don't think that's gonna work. But we did we did have this long-term rental for several years, which worked out beautifully, especially when the hurricane came in 2017
Wiped
and
it
it
out,
blew
huh?
the place apart. I guess it didn't, it did, I guess it's still there, isn't it? Up on Copper Mine Road.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going into
So thank you again, everybody. We're very special afternoon.
Are you going to little, what is it,
Little
Little
Dicks.
Dicks?
Yeah, we love it.
Nice.
So
Why don't
keep
you
in
give-
touch.
Why don't you give a quick capsule of all the things you've done? Like, for instance, tell us about what you did with the hospital. You know, you were very instrumental in a lot of things in the hospital. Talk about your role
Well, the
there.
hospital, Paul Wooging and I were kind of joint associates with the Howard County General Hospital. The hospital in Columbia was part of the Columbia Medical Plan. And the Columbia Medical Plan was essentially run by three organizations, Connecticut General, Johns Hopkins, and a Physicians Association. It was a stupid decision on the part of Johns Hopkins that the hospital would only be made available to members of the Columbia Medical Plan. People who lived in Columbia in 1960s and 1970s, I think were all under the age of 30. So there wasn't a high demand for hospital care. Old people hadn't discovered that yet. So we said this is gonna work, and we prevented another hospital coming into Howard County through Charlie Miller. And I still remember this so very, very well, and Paul tells the story so much better than I do. The guy from Hopkins, the president of Hopkins, threw us the keys and says, "You're now in charge. We're pulling out. We're not going to be here anymore." And then interestingly enough, a few years ago, Johns Hopkins is back in Columbia, or the Howard County General Hospital is part of the Johns Hopkins system.
We're gonna cut a piece for you.
Yeah, a lot of good stories.
Okay, next
I was visiting them when they lived in Reisterstown, right? Was it Reisterstown? Mm-hmm. And so he gets up on a Saturday morning and says, "Come on, we're gonna take a ride." So we drove out in the countryside. The roads were there, the sidewalks were there, there's some trees, and he pulled up into this cul-de-sac. And and there was a mound of dirt.
There's just mud everywhere.
I said, "What is this?" He said, "We're gonna build a house there." I said, "You're gonna do what?"
Yeah, I was so upset. It's like, what are they thinking?
Yeah, what, first 500
Just saw a lot of
families
cows
in
and
Columbia? And Becky's name was down there where on the lake.
The people tree, the bricks.
Yeah, the first kindergarten class in Columbia. Her father worked in, what was the restaurant down there on the lake?
At the Odyssey.
The Odyssey, right?
It was became
Yeah.
Clyde's.
You talk about an incestuous group of people, with those that were the pioneers in Columbia.
Can you say a little bit where it is?
What?
I'm recording it. Where was it, where was it physically located?
Which, the house?
Yeah,
Fable Row in Wild Lake.
And what year was this?
It's
1968.
1967.
1967, so that's very early.
Yeah, we were one of the first people to move in. There wasn't very much there.
There wasn't anything there.
Yeah, we had, in fact, when we first moved, they hadn't paved Fauntleroy Circle, so we had to go past the cows that were still out in the pasture and stuff to the top, and that they were routing all the equipment across the cow pasture to get to the house because they hadn't paved any of the roads.
How old were you?
I was 7.
You remember it?
What year did Columbia start? I mean, when did Rouse turn it over to the community?
66, 67.
66, 67,
Yeah,
okay.
Like the Wildlife Dam was
Turn it
built in
over.
66.
No, not
He controlled it
until,
in every sense.
He controlled it until when?
The Rouse Company was fearful that a lot of good thinking or hardworking residents would screw up the Rouse plan. So he kept everything under his control. It was hard. And it went pretty well until the company was sold in 19.
And he was right.
Yeah,
He was right.
the vision changed. You know, so Columbia was a wonderful experience and did a lot. Made, I think we did.
It was a fantastic time growing up. I run the alumni associations for the high school I went to, and another one of them. And that was a lot of the bringing together, was that we all moved in all at the same time, and there were kids in every single house. It's like one of those scenarios, you know, where kids everywhere.
yeah, we moved in 70.
And we were there right from the point when the plan was done. We had the neighborhood centers, there was a teen center going on. There were like pools, every walkable school from every house.
Thank you.
There was hardly anybody was bused because we just walked right to the schools. It was the bike paths were fantastic. We'd never heard of such a thing. I mean, it was like, they were like giving us interstate roads for kids. It was just, it was incredible amount of time growing up, and all the fields.
The 3 that he developed about that time, he had Montgomery County,
Either one.
Montgomery,
That one, yeah.
Philly,
Sandwich,
right?
you want it?
Yeah, just put
And
it
you
down.
had the one in
Want this
Virginia,
too?
Rest of it.
Ruskin. And the only one there for a period of time that really worked was Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rustin is excluded.
I got lost
Oh,
in
yeah.
your,
Are you the guy who called me?
I did call you, yes.
But you said your name was Jack.
Well, I was, might have been impersonating someone.
Steve Sachs, introduce yourself to these folks who have all been introduced, but we have been waiting for you.
Oh, you've had a long wait. I'm Steve Saxon. I've known Ron, from both Rotary and, we were on the, Howard Community College, board for 12 years in Columbia. I live in Florida now, so I'm up visiting for Christmas with my kids. Getting here, and I gotta rush back, but the hardest thing was finding this
This
place
place.
within here. I've seen a lot.
I'm sorry, and the reason I didn't call you back is because I don't know the address either.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Even
a
with the
big
address,
place.
it was hard to find.
It's a big place.
Ron, since he introduced the subject of the college, I know you've been very much involved in it, and the college is really just
And
mushroomed.
Steve likewise. Steve and I were both on the Board of Trustees for the community college during the reign of Dwight Pearl and Mary Ellen Duncan. You know, every school builds its reputation influenced by the leadership. We think that we were part of that leadership. In the last 2 years,
Yeah.
a new person has been selected to take the leadership of the community college, and it's been devastating. The vision, mission of the school, the makeup of the workforce, the reputation looks good on paper, but when you talk to the people who are actually working in the school and hoping to make a difference, it's very disappointing. So Steve and I have been sharing notes with Linda and a couple of other folks to see if we could encourage them to, so I wrote this long letter, which is probably a mistake.
How long was it, Ron?
He's not short of tongue or a pen.
But sent the letter in the hopes that we'd get a response, identifying all the stuff that we thought were weakening the school and its reputation. Never got an answer back. But she's aligned well with the political machinery in the county and in the state. And the role of community colleges continues to change a lot, for better, for worse.
It
But
was an
it's-
excellent letter he wrote. Excellent.
Anybody want a
Pass it
copy of it?
around.
Ron, reflect for a moment what it was like when you first started with them, and what it was like then and what it's like now, as far as courses and opportunities for the community.
Well, one of the very exciting things that I think was in place was the working agreement, and Steve may have not met, with the Jessup prison system.
I went, Ed Cochran, when he was chair and I was vice chair, Ed Cochran gave me the privilege of going over to Jessup in his place. And it was actually a very great experience to meet with the prisoners, and we had courses that were offered to the college over there so that they had a foot up when they were leaving that place, and that was a horrible place, Jessup Prison. So, yeah, Ed Cochran was our county executive, and he just passed away actually in
Yeah, he did.
99.
Did they keep the name on the building?
Ah,
That was another little
No,
issue.
it's now the Trump Cochran.
Phyllis Vadacci, who had headed up the Office of Aging for a good friend, and had worked on a number, including the working endowment. When she passed, many of us thought, wouldn't it be a good idea to put her name on the senior center
sure.
over on Route 40? And so we put together a very persuasive letter with 50-some endorsees, including the hospital, the Lorraine Health System, and numerous business organizations. And the
Cal.
county executive said, I'll think about it, which was, that was 2 years ago probably. Very disappointing. She was somebody who really did make a
Well,
difference. Ed Cochran, good guy,
Yeah.
but his contribution to the older adults, marginal. But he was a good guy. Found himself every place in an important role. Anyway, that's,
Well, one of the rumors I heard was that Calvin, who will be ending his term.
Kevin Ball, that is?
Yeah, Calvin Ball, that he might, that you may see her leave and him become president of the community college.
HEC?
Of HCC, which would be
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I know.
he's gone through, but he's never really been successful in anything he's ever done, including county executive.
Ron, you've been involved in a lot of other things in the community. Could you just pick one more and tell us a little bit more? You've been in so many things, it'd be hard to pick only one.
you know, early on, and this was probably promoted by Jim Rouse in his thinking about how do institutions and organizations change. Libby Rouse, his wife, thought it a good idea to evolve a interdenominational ecumenical church worship in Columbia. And I was asked to chair this new interfaith organization. My experience with that was learning. Because the first meeting, how old have I been? Probably 28, 29 years old. We convened representative of all the national churches to talk about how the churches were going to support ministry in Columbia. And it was early decided that Columbia would not have churches, it would have interfaith centers. And that worked up to a point, but it wasn't very long before the Catholics started going one way and the Jewish population went another way.
Everybody wants their own building.
Yeah, so start using the neighborhood centers and the village centers.
But the Interfaith Center at Wild Lake is strong and
Yeah.
has a huge Spanish population and,
Yeah, we only have one,
You're
there's
right.
only one church in Columbia.
It was
Yeah.
one of the success stories.
yeah,
There's-
it is
there's
definitely
two
a
interfaith
success
centers,
story,
though.
yeah.
There's two interfaith centers. There's
Oakland
actually,
Mills.
they keep talking about a
Very
third one.
importantly,
But there's only one church.
the churches had said, we're not going to support construction of new facilities, but we will underwrite low-income housing. And that's how the low-income housing. So just another little story. It was a very interesting period where you felt a part of the growth and change.
Ron, you should talk about your work with the Rotary.
Well,
You know, one of your former members of the Howard County Community College Board of Trustees, Joan Athen, is in my Rotary.
someone looked at, there was the Community Action Council, that some of you are familiar with, provides support services in housing, energy assistance and whatnot, and especially manages the Head Start program. The first director of Community Action Council said, why don't we try putting together a program for the summer so that kids have a place to go during the summer years, summertime. And so we said, let's take that on as a Rotary project, our group in Ellicott City. And the Ellicott City group was a pretty influencing group. Jim Roby was a member, Rich Krieg was a member. Who am I leaving out? We had the people who would make a difference. So we said, okay, we'll do that. Then we said, we can do even better. We will get all the Rotary clubs in Howard County to make a substantial investment so that this program continues. I don't know whether it continues or not. I hope it does.
Community Action Council.
That's right.
They're still very active. Tracy Broccolino
Yeah.
heads up the council.
How's she related to Vic
It's his daughter.
Russell? Pardon me?
She married Vic's son.
Vic's son, okay. Vic I remember when he was the head
Is
of the
that
hospital.
the,
Victor
is
Broccolino.
that the guy who did mortgages?
Yeah, he was an
There it
institution.
Pardon?
There was his son, I got a mortgage for his son, one of his sons.
Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
No, there's a lot out.
Good stories.
No, we want to talk about a little bit. You're making history here. There were a lot of other things you did in the community. Talk about some more while you still remember the ones, the important ones.
What?
Some of the other community projects were you involved in Head Start?
Oh, yes, well, only to the extent that we expanded the program.
Okay.
That
What was the name of the organization you were related to that you used as a vehicle for a lot of these
Well,
things?
the Community Action Council was the agency at the county level, not for profit.
Were you in Horizon at all? Ron, were you in Horizon Foundation at all?
Oh, yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, when Hopkins reacquired Howard County General,
Okay.
there were certain things that we thought important. One was that you would set aside an asset that would be focused on community health improvement. And that money, substantial, I can't remember exactly how many millions went into that, would constitute the Horizon Foundation. It wasn't called the Horizon Foundation initially, but
What was it called then?
I think it was something as mundane as the community health improvement. Yeah.
I'm sorry, give the name again. I didn't catch that.
A lot of stuff.
How's your strawberry shortcake? Did Grandma make strawberry shortcake in December? Dad? His birthday?
Grandma, which grandma, what generation?
His mother.
That one?
Okay, Ron, we're protecting this for history now. This is being taped, and so it will live far longer than you do. Any parting things you want to
I didn't
Oh,
say?
even think we ever celebrated Dad's birthday, it was all wrapped into Christmas.
Yeah, well, that's the famous story. That's the famous story. Not only he was born on the 21st of December, the shortest day of the year. Not only on the 21st, but it was 4 days before Christmas. So if he got birthday presents, he never got any Christmas presents. So if he didn't get birthday presents, then he could expect to get something at Christmas.
I started
I
out
just
with,
figured I'd
This
just put it
story,
together.
this story has been going on for, well, I'm 84, so I've been hearing this story, let's say, at the beginning at the age of 2. So for 82 years, I've been hearing this. This poor guy was so neglected and denied.
Didn't have a regular birthday.
and birthdays were always celebrated with strawberry shortcake. Always.
Do you remember your best birthday? Is there one that seems to stick out more than any other than this?
That's hard because they were so melded with Christmas.
It's hard to separate it.
You know,
People could be cheap to give you only one present for both things.
That's all he got anyway, so.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I don't know if you think about it, but Jim Rouse was a visionary, truly a visionary. And the one thing I worked for them, and when he would talk at a company meeting, everyone, it was like if you were the lowest person or the highest person, he talked in a way everybody understood what he was, common sense and what he was talking about. But what the reality also was for Columbia is visionaries don't manage. They're visionaries. And they're always moving on. the next thing. For him, Enterprise was one of the next things. And he did all the low-income housing with his church down in DC. I remember helping him place the insurance on the first two down there. But from a Columbia standpoint, one of the shames that happens with visionaries is there's nothing structurally that takes place afterwards. So even if you have been on certain boards where you have a young person, and this particular lady was a child of Columbia pioneer families, she really knew nothing about the history of
Yeah,
Columbia.
Columbia was built with the idea that it would be very family-centered. Everything from, walking over to the kiosk, getting the mail, where you'd have to say hello to somebody, to walking to school, walking to shopping. And Steve, you probably remember this. The idea would be a rapid transit system.
Oh, yeah.
for Columbia. And the pathways of the areas are still open, I guess, actually, aren't they?
Steve, what's your last name again?
Sachs.
Steve Sachs?
Yes, I
Did either of you know either Jim Rouse or members of the corporation?
Oh, I worked with the C-suite, but Jim, Jim was up here. I knew Jim through philanthropic things and things. I still have a letter from him relative to some things he did at the Rouse Company. My mom kept all that stuff, and you got letters. I would always say this about Jim Rouse. When he spoke at a company meeting, from the highest executive to the lowest person, they would always understand what he was talking about. He talked in a way that I don't want to say common people, but normal people would understand. He was aspirational in how he thought and what he did. He was just an amazing.
Every development he touched seemed fantastic. I mean, from the Inner Harbor in Baltimore to Bayside, I moved to Miami, and he kind of fixed Miami downtown in a way, because he put that Bayside down there, and it just made everything marvelous.
That's when Mike Spear was president, and I will tell you that was a period when Rouse was doing St. Louis Union Station. There weren't many of those properties that ended up making money because they were very complex. Being in the cities, very expensive to do. I love Bayside. It was just a really, really great place. And
Really? Yeah, with the park right there, just this location on just getting.
And you got the American Airlines Center and the Intercontinental down the road.
Yeah, it works so well.
I remember when during Hurricane Andrew, that big banyan tree that's still there actually tipped over. And the difference was we were down there we had a disaster recovery team. We had all the landscape people. They actually righted that tree, and you have to right it right away on a banyan tree, or the roots are dead. That tree is a fantastic, beautiful site down there.
Well, he was a visionary and he was very charismatic. When Jim Rouse stood up at a community meeting, you could just feel his enthusiasm radiating. Big smile and full of optimism.
I think it's an interesting time. It's the post-Korean War period, and you're moving in now into the early '60s. And the turmoil in this country is going on. The civil rights movement, the anti-war movement. Bobby's been shot. John's been shot. Martin Luther King's been shot. Bobby's been shot. The country was in chaos, and so it was appropriate and timely that there were these pockets of people like the Jim Rouses who said, we got to take a different direction here because the direction we've been on isn't going well for us at all. So let's break out of it. There was a book written in the year 2000, it was called. I think it was published in 1964, 66. It brought together what was then soon to be some of the best minds in the country. Talking about the social unrest, talking about direction or the lack of direction. And to illustrate it even more, there was some of the best minds. There was a chapter in there called the 100 technological possibilities by the year 2000. 25 less likely and 10 far off. They were so far off the mark. I mean, things were moving so quickly that you just check them off.
That's what's changing in our world right now, because there's no oversight and management of what's happening.
Can you identify yourself again? You did earlier.
I'm his baby brother.
Oh, it's his baby brother.
You're the youngster in their family.
Yeah, didn't Rouse do Faneuil Hall
I'm the
in
spoiled
Boston?
brat.
Yeah, Faneuil Hall, I remember
Bob had a
that.
very significant job with the Council of Great City Schools
Yeah.
and served as the Director of Management Services or something like that.
One of the things,
20-some years.
one of the things Jim did in Columbia, he kicked Levitt out of Columbia because wouldn't go along with, he wouldn't care if you're black or white in a neighborhood. And he kicked him right back up to Long Island.
Well, we still haven't addressed those issues
Well,
as well.
we haven't addressed a lot of it, that's why I say in Columbia.
Well, actually it did for the people that, like me, that were young growing up.
They were young.
We ended up being different. And I think what ends up happening with some of the people who like bring all these race issues, we feel all the same. We don't feel black or white. So I think
The challenge.
it's so when I start hearing all this stuff, you know, people calling each other racist, and it doesn't even apply to me because I feel half black most of the time because we are all the
What
same.
happened in Columbia, other than you had certainly some housing that was better for lower income, but it was African Americans escaping the inner cities that were a disaster. And you know, I look always at what Lyndon Johnson did with the Great Society was the worst thing that ever happened for African Americans in the city, because you basically benefited if you didn't have a male in the household in terms of what you got in welfare. And it was, you know, a lot of times people
Seem to be
do.
like pushing away from family.
Well, politicians do things that they think are right, but they don't look beyond their nose in terms of what the impacts of it.
Sir, could you identify yourself again? I know you did earlier.
I'm Ron's son.
Ron's what?
I'm Ron's son.
Oh, Ron's son, okay. Your name is Stan?
Yes.
Okay. I hadn't met you before.
And I guess part of it because you know I do run a couple of alumni associations, and so we have we've all kind of self-identified as all being kind of different because we were raised in this mixed race environment, and we don't feel white or black or anything. You know, sometimes what ends up being a difficulty for some of the my black friends is they don't relate well to the people that all raised in a different environment. Because we were all kind of raised together, listening to black music, white music, everything together, all at the same time. And there wasn't any.
Such a unique place.
Yeah.
I remember I'd go to the exhibit center. You may have been too young at that point.
I wasn't.
But the exhibit center, I would get emotional being in the exhibit. It was such a old, slides and all, but basically a presentation of what Columbia was about.
Screens and then, it was a nice presentation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unifying factor that I've always kind of tried to make for the Alumni Association to bring us together, because we feel like we're our own type of American,
The one thing I think that Jim, if he was here, I think you could talk to me, would do a do-over. When he set up the Columbia Association, that's been a disaster in my perspective. The Columbia Association
versus being incorporated as a city.
well, being incorporated or a different structure. The way the voting takes place, you have very little voting because of the way it takes place.
I think maybe it was a mistake because Columbia kind of got absorbed into Howard County, and Howard County had a long-standing resentment of Columbia, and I feel like that's infiltrated into Columbia now. When I go back, I think it might have been better to have it incorporated, have their own police force, and have their own.
He was so comfortable with Kennedy. I'm trying to think his first name.
Which Kennedy? There's a lot of Kennedys.
This is a Kennedy. He was actually involved in the Peace Corps too. Patrick. Patrick Kennedy was an incredibly wonderful person, but I think Jim had this great confidence in him. But they had there, when you go to, I go to a meeting, it's all, I'd say because I'm an old guy, but it was like, I was at the Columbia Festival of the Arts, I was a chair for a couple of years. And talking, that was the worst thing I had to do, talking to those guys. They were so focused on the small game versus what Columbia, what Jim's real vision was. They weren't in the vision, they were cutting lawns and doing the things that really don't add value to a community. They just are costing. So when Al Scavo, who Ron knows, he's the one who negotiated the hospital deal. He was an executive VP for Rouse. And when they brought in, the last village they brought in was Emerson. I think it was Emerson. Columbia Association, they complained and complained, and he finally said, you'll excuse my language, he said, screw them. We can do the whole thing cheaper by just hiring an HOA manager, which is what they did. So it's, this, government is by, I think, historically, is self-serving and small-minded too often. Both on national level or on the local level. The local level, you have a little more accountability because someone can vote for you and it makes a difference.
You learn about some of these things.
Steve, where do you live now?
I live in Florida.
You live in
Down
Florida?
Near outside Sarasota.
Sarasota?
A place called Lakewood Ranch,
I see.
which is a planned community of 35,000 acres.
So you were
Wow.
right down where Dad and where they were.
Yeah. He was actually at River Ranch or whatever. He was close before he moved into assisted housing. Yeah.
How long did you live in Columbia?
30-some.
30 some odd years?
40 years, yeah. I joined the Rouse Company in 2000. They hired me in 2000. I'm just trying to, probably, I was 69, probably around 1973, and I worked for him for 12 years. I was in the mortgage. What I did was with really under the mortgage company, and that was spun off to Payne Weber. But I still did all their insurance spend and risk management for another 19 years till they were sold. So I reported pretty much through the C-suite. So it was just a great company.
What was your position with the Rouse Company?
I was executive vice president of Rouse Risk Management.
Okay.
And I started their risk management. When I said, I found some stuff when I went to work there, and I said, this doesn't make sense how you're buying insurance.
Yeah.
They said, well, tell us what we should do. And so I took some courses and I learned stuff. And when you're in risk management, if your company lets you, you're involved in every part of the company. But you report to the C-suite because most companies it's about a spend versus really looking at risk, looking at the horizon, and we retained a lot of risk. We just, it's a great company.
Steve, talk a little bit about your background.
Maryland, Baltimore City. My dad had a drugstore in the inner city of Baltimore, down on Caroline and Federal Street.
Were you born in the state or in Columbia?
I was born in the city of Baltimore.
You were born in the city of Baltimore.
Probably in St. Joe's Hospital when it was
St.
down in the
Joe's.
city. And we lived over the top of the drugstore.
That's great.
So it was a time of changing.
That was not uncommon during those days. I know Linda had relatives that had a store and they lived above the store.
It was before there were chains.
Yeah.
So there were little drugstores and it was part of the community. It's a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
So
I remember early meetings of the Columbia Association. Well, they were early for me. We met at a place out on a lake, but I remember the meetings of the Columbia Association.
I'm sure they were better in the early years.
Oh, well, Linda, I remember Linda. She had a great way of going around and meeting everybody. She seemed to know everybody in the room.
No, it was, there were so many good things about Columbia, it's just that it's hard for organization. I'm reading, Ron read the book too, a Tom Friedman book. On,
Oh, Tom Freeman.
I'm sorry I was late for dinner.
Fantastic
And he talks about
correspondent.
St. Louis Park.
I'll be darned.
In Minneapolis, and and all the different Jewish and Catholic and
Yeah.
black and white that came together in there.
Yeah.
Dad's leaving, Dad, come and say goodbye.
Hi, Priscilla. I just want to say hello.
There she goes.
Okay, Ron, I'm going to cut this off now.
We should take, okay,
Yeah, I
come
think
and
you
take
should.